Hello, hello! Welcome back to Brenda's Books. Thank you so much for coming back to listen to more of Sara's War. If you would like to follow Brenda's Books online, I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Here is Chapter 38. Chapter 38. Don't fret, Doc. From a distance, I hear Jack's deep voice calling, Oxford! Lexy and I pull out of our hug to see Jack jogging toward us. I have an assignment for you, he says to Lexy as he approaches. He pauses as he glances back and forth between us, taking in our tear-stained faces. What's wrong? He asks in a low voice. We're fine, Jack, says Lexy. Just sharing sob stories. We are at war, you know. His eyes continue to dart from my face to Lexy's. Is it something I can help with? You already did, says Lexy. Jack pulls his eyebrows together in confusion. I told Sara what happened to Derek. Jack's mouth turns down into a sympathetic frown. He puts a hand on Lexy's arm and squeezes it briefly. Then his gaze rests on me. He says nothing, but he stares at me thoughtfully. Whatever the thought is, it fills his eyes with hope. Then he clears his throat and turns to Lexy. So, are you ready for your assignment? Yes, sir, Lexy says back to her cheerful self. I'd like you to feed the prisoners. Apparently those who arrived with them yesterday didn't have any meal kits. Excuse me? Why are you giving me a peon job? Because you owe me a peon favor for stealing the grill, says Jack. His expression is a mixture of irritation and amusement. I turn a sharp head in Lexy's direction. But Jack, the base didn't even need that thing and we did. Besides, didn't you love that barbecue? I mean, the chicken was amazing. Oh, and that sauce. I haven't had something so good since... I'm glad you enjoyed it because now you get to do this, Jack says, a bit smug. And you know I could do a lot worse. Lexy rolls her head dramatically. Come on. Jack just stares at her, looking amused but also unmoving. Fine, Lexy says in a sour tone. But do you really expect me to feed those guys without beating one of them up? She sounds way too serious. Yes, because you're going to promise me that you won't. You are no fun today. Promise me, says Jack. Lexy groans. Fine, I promise. You can get the meal kits from Lieutenant Grimes. Why not Burnett? Jack smirks at her. He's busy, and so am I. He steals one more glance at me. I'll see you two later. He pivots and walks in the other direction, heading to the gigantic tanks. Tell Barnett he's gorgeous, Lexy calls. Jack half turns as he continues to walk. That is something I will not do. I crack a grin, and Lexy sticks her tongue out at him. Well, there's plenty of other people who would, Lexy yells back, which earns her quite a few chuckles from those passing by. Jack doesn't turn around this time, but just continues his long strides. Lexy elbows me. Your staring skills could really use some work. What? He has a nice walk, I defend. Lexy lifts her chin. Of course he does. What about that conversation we just had? You stared at him the whole time without saying a single word. Well, you two were talking and... I pull up my eyelids with my fingers. Blast, you're right. Lexy puts her hands on either side of her head. I can't believe you broke it off. I give her a disapproving look. Lexy sighs heavily. I get it, I do, Let's go. We both pivot and start shuffling through the dirt. I peer around at the new desert scene. My new home, as it were. Hundreds of soldiers walk briskly in all directions. Some are pushing artillery off the road. Others are hefting large bags over their shoulders. Authorities are pointing and shouting orders at them. The loud rowdiness of the bus is now replaced with strict duties attended to. When my eyes can move past the busy activity, I notice the new terrain is full of small hills, dotted with redwood trees all over. Behind them stand the large California Cascade Mountains. A perfect location, really. This type of lumpy topography will make it harder for the enemy to detect us. I'm certain Jack was well aware of this when he picked the site. Soldiers are placing their large weapons on the grass in front of the small hills. We must be the last company to arrive because I spot some camps already set up. The tents are staked to the ground in between the knolls. The rest of us still have a couple hours before dark to get everything set up. I bet Jack planned that too. I inhale deeply. I can't believe I will be living this life again. War, blood, carnage, and all. Hey, why don't you come with me? Lexy cries. Why are you trying to punish me too? I didn't steal a grill. Why did you do that, by the way? What, you didn't enjoy the barbecue? Lexy asks with raised eyebrows. I sigh, shaking my head. That's twice today that you've really shocked me. That's so nice, Doc, Lexy cries in her cheeriest tone. So is that a yes? You'll come with me? You do know that I'm head of the medical department here and have a lot to do, right? So? I'm the head of aviation, but I've got little guys under me, just like you. Come on, when's the next time we're going to see each other? I bite my lip. You know what? It would be good for me to check on Grimes anyway, since he hurt his Achilles. But I need to check in with my nurses first. Lexy grips my shoulder as we walk side by side. Ah, thanks, Doc. You're going to love these guys. They're so grim and mean and angry. It's a lot of fun. I can hardly wait, I mutter. Excuse me, are you Dr. Andrews? Says an unfamiliar male voice. I turn to face the tall stranger. I recognize him as the sergeant major who the general had promoted my first day at Big Rock. That's correct, I tell him. Let me show you where the AIDS section will be. Yes, that would be good to know. Tucked in between these two hills, he says, pointing to the north. He leans close to me to ensure that I'm seeing the same two knolls he's pointing to. The southern knoll has a large underground bomb shelter beneath it. I thank him and he quickly jumps into a tank and points in the direction he wants the driver to go. Hey, there she is! A short distance away, Randy waves his arm high. Molly and Kate are with him. I wave back and jog through the dry grass toward them. Lexy jogs with me. Where have you been? We're lost without you, Randy says with a grin, earning him an eye roll from Lexy. Randy glares back at her, but then his face softens. Are you two okay? We're good, Lexy says. We're BFFs now. Randy hesitates, so I cut in. Sorry to keep you waiting, Randy. We got stuck talking to the colonel. Lexy laughs at that. And by we, she means me. Randy looks confused, but he doesn't ask any questions. It's no big deal. We're still waiting for the sergeant major to tell us where to set up. I just spoke with him, I say. I relay the information the sergeant major told me. Do you mind getting started on unloading the aid truck? We have an assignment from the colonel that we need to take care of. Of course she sticks us with all the work, Molly grumbles. She's a few feet behind Randy and must think I'm too far away to hear. Nurse Sanders, I don't recall you helping load the truck at all at Big Rock, I say loudly. You either, Nurse Jones. I guess the two of you will be unloading it now. Kate groans. Nice going, Molly. Randy swallows. I don't mind helping, Doctor. Why don't you start camouflaging the aid truck once it's on site? Do you have experience with that? I ask. You think he hasn't? Molly gripes under her breath. He's been in the army 5 years. I ignore her and Randy pretends he didn't hear. Yes, would you like me to start that? Yes, please. I shouldn't be too long. Randy nods. I'll get it done. Thank you, I appreciate it, I say with a smile. Lexy and I pivot and trudge a long way through dirt, sticks, tanks, trucks, and busy crowds. Several groups are dyeing mesh nets and setting them up over their equipment. Lexy leads me up a steep, rocky hill. You know those two skinnies aren't going to be able to unload the truck on their own, Lexy tells me. I shrug. Randy will help them anyway. That pretty one's got some lip. Yep, I call her Miss Attitude in my head. Lexy laughs at that. What do you call Jack in your head? Mr. Ooh-la-la? I laugh with her. That would only fit for one of his personalities. Lexy lets out a hoot. Right? What should we call him for his colonel personality? Mr. We look at each other and say in unison, Mr. Terrifying. We're still laughing when Lexy's loud ringtone interrupts us. I know you miss me, Jack, but this is a little too soon, Lexy says into her phone. Yeah, Sara's with me. Do you want to speak sweet nothings to her too? Oxford, this is serious, I hear Jack's stern voice say through the other end. Lexy rolls her head. My bad, what is it? I can't hear Jack's voice anymore, but whatever he's saying causes Lexy to stare at me in horror. Are you sure? Well, I wouldn't have brought her with me if I had known. Why didn't you tell me? Lexy stiffens as she scowls at the sky, listening to Jack for a long minute. All right, yes. I understand. Yes, sir. Lexy ends the call and stuffs her phone in her back pocket. Change of plans, Doc. It looks like Jack does want me to beat someone up, but he doesn't want you to witness it. What? Lexy shrugs. That's what he said. I cock my head. That is not what he said. Well, of course it isn't, Lexy cries. But I gotta go by myself. Besides, you're the head of the medical department and have a lot to do. I fold my arms across my chest. It sounds like he didn't want me specifically to come with you. Why? Lexy wags a mock scolding finger at me. Too many questions get you in trouble. She drops her backpack to the ground and crouches next to it. She yanks open a zipper and starts digging to the bottom. Come on, Lexy, what's going on? Lexy looks back up at me. I really can't say. Why not? If it's about me, I deserve to know. Not really, Lexy says, opening a new zipper and stuffing her hand inside. I squat close to her. She looks up, her eyes wary. You've got to be kidding me, I say. You'll find out eventually, Sara, but I can't tell you. I'm sorry. I duck my chin to my chest. This is ridiculous. I spit out the words. I stand and Lexy stands too. Why do you need a taser? I ask. Somehow Lexy looks alarmed that I saw what she pulled out of her backpack. She quickly slips it inside a large pocket on the outside of her leg. Don't fret, Doc. Really, it'll be okay. What will? Lexy closes the gap between us and puts her strong hands on my shoulders. I know this is weird, but just forget it, all right? Fat chance of that, I snap. Do your best. I'll see you later. Lexy slaps the side of my shoulder, then sprints down the rocky hill. And that concludes Chapter 38. I hope you join me next Thursday for Chapter 39, which is called The Docanizer. And most likely I will include the following chapter, which is called It's Starting. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Go out and enjoy the sunshine. If you want to find out more about Brenda's books, you can visit brendasbooks.net. Until next time, take care.